Look at my fancy mug. Well, tumbler. My sister gave this to me because she loves me so much. I mean, how? She's great. Anyways, hey, everybody. I am back. Can I really say I'm back if I was never really here? Like, I know I did a couple episodes or postings, whatever you want to call them. But I kind of sucked at it. One of my last videos, the sound quality was crap, and I always overplanned it, so I never actually, I got so hung up in the details that I never actually sat down to do it. And then life got in the way, stuff like that. Like, we did for my job, did a bunch of videos over the summer, and now I know that was, oh my gosh, almost a year ago. But everything just kind of stacked up to make me my own worst enemy. So I am going to reattempt this, and we're going to be much more casual about it because it's just who I am. I'm a casual kind of gal. That felt so wrong to say, but that's my plan. I'm just going to post whenever, with whatever. Kind of fly by the seat of my pants. But I was actually talking about this the other day with a friend, and one of the main reasons I wanted to start this back up is because of a present that I got for Christmas. I know, it's April. Yeah, April. I just about said it's March, but it's April. I don't know why I thought it was March. The weather here, I'm going to put in a clip to show what my weather was like yesterday. The wind is insane. My hair's like, it feels very chaotic out there. Not that that has anything to do with any of this. Anyways, back to my point. I got a subscription to KnitWise. Let me grab the box. I've gotten three boxes now. And honestly, it was this month's box that made me want to kind of do a review of it. The literal box itself. Because this box is freaking genius. So before they just came in, actually, I have one. Pull all the junk out of it. So before they came in brown box, fancy little sticker, called it good, but if you weren't careful with how you opened it, it was just kind of in the way. But this new box, the one from this month, I'm so in love with it. It's ridiculous to like packaging this much. So it is called, I don't know if they're saying Books Box, doesn't matter, OOBOOX. And you can see that this thing is so freaking cool because you scan the code and then you return the entire box and they continue to reuse it. I think the website said it can be reused 10 times before they need to break it down, remake the material, turn it into a new box, and then they can use it again. So as far as business savvy goes, this is freaking genius. It's stupid that I'm not excited about it. But when I opened that up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So dumb. Then the other reason I wanted to discuss, where's all my stuff here? To discuss these boxes is because I was giving a friend a rundown. And I was just sending her clips as I'm working on this project. I've only completed one of the projects. I've half completed the second box and not even halfway on the first box. And not because they're difficult. I'll get to that in a minute. But I was sending her these clips. I'm like, okay, this is what I like about this now, and this is what I don't like about this. And she was like, you should do a review. And I was like, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who's subscribed to this box. And she's like, I think you might be. I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 other people. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And that is why I want to kind of give a review of this, because there's like no projects. Like, I looked up one of the projects on Ravelry and it's not there. And the yarn, I don't know if they are just relabeling it or what, but they, you can't pull it up on there. And it's just one of those things where, I'm looking through my bag here, where it's like, oh, well, I kind of want information on this, that, or the other thing, and I'm just not finding it. And so it gets a little disappointing. Okay, I am trying to find all the items that belong to this one box while clearing out nonsense that's gotten tossed in it. Okay, so all the bits are everywhere. Told you, this is gonna be casual. Okay, so first you get a pattern. So this box was this triangle scarf. Fancy. And on the inside of the pattern, it will show you everything that you get. So I have size 4 needles, tapestry needle, and the yarn, and then obviously the pattern. It tells you what you'll need, scissors, steamer, whatever. And then the pattern. And I have conflicting everything about this. So first, let me show you the yarn that came in this one. And I will include pictures of stuff because, you know, I've used it. So it's not as tidy and ball bands are gone and all of that. But here's the yarn. It is kind of a single. And I say kind of because it's almost as if they put the main fiber into like a tube. Like how I explained it to my friend is cotton balls. The entire thing is cotton, but you've kind of got that outer layer that's almost like a different weave, so to speak. Gosh, that's really the best way to describe it. But it, as you can see in the picture, it does have multiple colors. I did not get these colors though, and I'll show you what the end result looks like. And this was a wool and acrylic blend, mostly acrylic. And it was not terrible. The yarn has a couple spots where it was thinner, almost like overdrafted, but it wasn't terrible. Like, it didn't snap at any point during my knitting. This is the amount that I have left. So I definitely got enough for it. I did not measure gauge, but that doesn't matter because scarf. I guess I could measure it right now. Let's measure it. So you definitely get enough for your project to complete it, which is always nice because sometimes it's hit or miss, right? All right, let's see. I have a really cool tool to measure my gauge with. Just trying to find it. I'll find it in a minute. So definitely get enough yarn. You always get the needles that you need. The needles are interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I did not get gauge. Just so you're aware. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 7.5 to an inch. Gauge is 6 to an inch. So definitely smaller than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So these are the needles that you got with it. This particular box. They're just circulars. Basic wood ones. I don't know where she gets them. They are marked, so let's see. I've got a lot of glare. Okay, there we go. They are marked, so you know what size you're using. And in this particular one, there's a tip on it, and she's like, even though we gave you circular needles, you're just knitting back and forth, which is nice, because I know that that can kind of confuse people. I love, like, I know that's obnoxious to do it like that, but I love this cable. To a point. These are size 4. Most circular needles, you've got a solid connection and then it kind of tapers out a little bit so that your stitches flow freely over it. That is not the case. My cable is also size 4. There is no tapering on this sucker at all, which means if you have a grippier yarn, it's not moving over this cable. And while that's nice, it also puts undue stress on the stitches if you slide them onto that. And let's say you let it sit for a bit and then you come back to it, it's been under tension the entire time, and that's kind of hard on the stitches, on the fabric as a whole, on the yarn, like the structure of it. If you're constantly under tension, then you risk weakening the fibers, the twist, all of that. Now, again, this isn't applied yarn, so that doesn't matter, but it could become a problem. So, love the cable, but not the thickness of it. If the bigger needles all have the same diameter cable, that would be awesome. Like, I've been tempted to email. Hold on, I got noises. I've been tempted to email her to find out where she gets the needles from, because I love the cable that much. And it's hollow. And so it's got it's just tubing, plastic tubing, right? But it just makes such a delightful cable. That's all there is to it. It does have your tapestry needle. Wow, hold on. Oh, hey, I lied. Here's my ball band. Okay, so tie-dye is the name of the yarn. 75% acrylic, 25% wool. Each ball is 50 grams, approximately 100 yards. So again, my gauge was not what it should have been. It does include all of the same information that you would normally get. Hand wash cold, lay flat to dry, suggested knitting needles, and crochet hook size. And it does say the gauge on here, which is 5 to 6 stitches per inch. We'll come back to gauge here in a minute. Despite it being only 25% wool, when you wash this was heavily wool scented. I was actually quite surprised at how heavily scented it was, because that's not a whole lot, and where it is such a thin yarn, I wasn't expecting. I expect a thicker yarn, even with a smaller fiber content, to be more heavily scented. Doesn't make sense. I don't care. That's just what I default to. So this is for your notions. And each box, the color's been different, which I kind of like. I have not used them. I'm not a fan of plastic ones, but I have kept every single one because they are nice to have on hand. I need to get in the habit of tossing them in my knitting bag for knitting night. Okay, so here's the end project. This one's kind of neat because it's like blocks. And so we've got, they're all stockinette, but you know, it's every other, so it's 100% reversible. So that is the color I ended up with. Let me fold it. Not too bad. I did have to obviously join the second ball, but you can't even, I joined it on this section. So my white is just a little bit thicker on this end than this one. And you can kind of see where there was inconsistencies in yarn. Like I've got a random white tuft there. Then there are a couple sections, let me see if I can find them, where it thinned out so much. I was genuinely worried that I was going to break stitches, and it never happened. Which, okay, here we go. Okay, you can kind of see it right in there, like it gets super, super thin. There we go. And despite being more like a single, it never broke, which is awesome. Now, the styling on this in the picture is very, very cleverly done because it's called Blocks Triangle Scarf. That is more like a shawlette. And even if I had gotten gauge, it is definitely on the small side. Now, this is obviously a hoodie, so I would not wear it like that, but like, like that's just tiny. So this styling on it is very cleverly done to kind of mask that shape a bit. Let's see. Even if I were to do it around my neck, like, not a fan. I don't normally wear these things anyways, but I definitely would not wear this one. However, pattern is super simple, which I liked. It was great, no thinking knitting. And the shape, the structure of it, I'm gonna play around with it. I have a couple ideas for something that could use the same shape, not the same design, but a similar shape. It was fun. It goes quick. Would I knit it again? That's a tough one. I want to say probably not because I don't wear them. It's small. I mean, it would not be hard to size up at all. Like, and not even having to tweak numbers or anything. Like, it's just, it would be super easy to size up, do more repeats. It's very intuitive. Cast on your stitch count, knit X amount of rows, cast on, knit X amount, and you just do that. You get to your max stitch count, you knit a bunch of rows, and then you decrease, knit, decrease, just reverse shaping. So off the top of my head, no, I would not reknit this. However, I would also reknit this because of the 3 boxes, this one makes the most sense. My boyfriend got me this for Christmas. It is supposed to be intermediate or advanced skill level. Absolutely not. This pattern is not. It is a whole 260 rows before you bind off. I could do this in my sleep. I know the amount of stitches, like the base number. I know how many rows, like I pretty much memorize this. And this is not because I'm a super advanced knitter or anything like that. I mean, I am, but my opinions are not coming from that standpoint. I explained it to one of my kids and they were like, "Are you sure you got the right box?" So, I mean, it is super simple. It is also, however, correct. Might be the best way to put it. And I'll show you the other two boxes, but I'll come back to that because I wanted to talk gauge. Well, actually that leads into the correctness of the patterns. So it says gauge is 5 to 6 stitches per inch with a needle range of size 3 to 5. Just about every pattern, I think, is picking the middle number based on the ball band. This was a size 4 needle. The first box I got is, oh no, the first box is smaller than, like, I'm not entirely certain that, I don't know how test knit these patterns are. And I really hesitate to like go too into it, but I don't know if they're test knit, how they're being created, like, is the designer an actual designer, or are they using a calculator and just tossing in stitch patterns? I don't know any of that. I haven't spent a whole lot of time looking into it, but there are definitely inconsistencies, I guess you could say. I have not felt that any of the projects, and remember I've only had 3 so far, I do not feel like any of the projects the gauge is appropriate. And by that I mean this one kind of is, but there's like no, this is blocked. It's stiff and it shouldn't be. And it's not because of how I blocked it. It's not because of my gauge, like my personal gauge. It doesn't seem like the needles chosen are appropriate for the structure of the knit itself. And the first box is a perfect example of that. These cable slippers. Absolutely love them. Like, I don't even like sweater or slippers, but I love how these ones look. And they're really kind of an interesting construction. They are done flat. The yarn is Diana, which is 74% acrylic and 26% wool. Tie-dye, this last box is 75-25. These ones are 60 grams. Tie-dye is 50, but they still both have approximately 100 yards. Knitting needle size on here suggested is 7 to 9. This project with cables is done on 6s. It's tight. I do not knit tight. So the first box, before I go on, did have extras like knit happens, do not disturb. There's a small bag, I don't know what it was. And so there was a project bag, a pin. You do get a cable needle. You do get tapestry needle and your actual knitting needles, which are just double points. But so you knit the heel, pick up your stitches, and then you're knitting across 3. and you have 3 charts you're working from, it's not difficult, but cables pull in anyways. And a lot of people find that they have to size up when they're working cables because of that. They're thick. Even in a thinner yarn, they are thick. They're dense. You've got ribbing on the bottom here. You've got cables on the side panels. You've got ribbing. I mean, this is a hefty slipper, and it hurts my hands to make, which is so unfortunate. Love the pattern though. Like it makes me very happy. If it were well done. This was my first box. And again, you've got your pattern. So your pattern is a whole 5 steps. I don't want to show any of that. You've got a stitch key, which is fine. You want it. My only complaint about the stitch key is I don't necessarily want to say it's a complaint because it's not. It's totally fine. Personal preference, I'm not a fan of it, is non-traditional symbols. A ghost and a butterfly. Like, I understand wanting to be cutesy and all of that, but it's distracting when that is your pattern. That's your chart that you're reading from. Now, the part where I mention inconsistencies is kind of a big deal, honestly. The person who runs this is great about replying to emails. I emailed her a lot about this one. I do not know how much she appreciated my input. So we'll see on that one. Here's chart A. You start with your heel flap. Okay. You actually start with the bottom of your heel flap and work up. Charts are universally agreed upon, read from bottom up, right to left. If you go in the round, it's a little different than if you're doing flat, but the world has agreed, start from the bottom, work your way up, start in the bottom right corner. That would say direction to work. At the top, working your way down. Row 1 is cast on row, which would mean that row 1, I'm working from the left top over. Row 2 should be this way. Not the case. That throws off a lot of stuff. I redid my heel 3 or 4 times before I actually got it to work the way that it said. And when I saw that she had direction of work from the top down, I went to the website to see if there were any tutorials or any information about this pattern, and there weren't. But she did have a video for how to read charts. And that is when I decided to email her, because in the video, I keep saying her, I shouldn't assume it's her. I don't know who runs it. What was I saying? In the video, they say that each square, which is universally 1 stitch, 1 row, is 2 rows. And like, there was a lot of conflicting information on it. So I emailed her and I was like, hey, what what is going on here, because chart A, you're working from the top down, but chart B, you're working correctly, bottom up. Like, what is going on here? And I got an answer that I wasn't super thrilled with, because it just really highlighted those inconsistencies. And then I asked, well, seeing as your rows are oddly numbered on chart A, which direction am I going? Like, how is it working? And got the response, well, it doesn't matter because it's the same on both sides, because the chart is broken down side, bottom. And she's like, they're the exact same. Which, yes, they are, but there's a reason that things are done a certain way when it comes to pattern formatting. And it's so that everybody could use it across the board, no matter what, without having to guess. And I emailed her quite a few times on this. I finally stopped because I was honestly starting to feel like maybe I was being annoying, but the pattern is not correct. It's not formatted correctly. I mean, it doesn't matter. I was able to figure it out, but for the very first box that I get, I'm struggling that much, and not even because of a lack of skill level, but because of formatting and layout and all of that. Like, it doesn't bode well. I have not finished it yet, obviously. I have to go until about decrease starts when you have just under 1/2 inch to your biggest toe. I don't know if that means 1/2 inch. No, let's see. Inconsistencies. Chart says decrease start when you have just under 1/2 inch to your biggest toe, which would make me think on the bigger side, like, or just barely creeping up on that. The pattern portion, the actual directions say when you have less than 1/2 inch to your longest toe. So there's just so many inconsistencies. One of my children wants these, so I need to get her foot measurements, but I'd say I'm almost there. I really do like the way the yarn is changing colors. Like, I'm a sucker for these sorts anyways. I haven't been super motivated to work on those ones though, just because of the issues. It did kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. Not because I don't like the box, not because the person who creates these is terrible with communication or anything like that. That is not at all the case. It just doesn't seem like they're being test knit, and I don't know, maybe I'm picky, but I want to know it's not going to take a lot of work to get through these boxes. Let me grab the second one. Okay, second one is amazing. Okay, they're not amazing. Mittens. I don't wear mittens. I don't wear gloves. But again, I've got all my supplies needed, blah, 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 blah. This is fuzz. 65% acrylic, 17% polyamide, 9% wool, 9% viscose, 60 grams, approximately 120 yards. Suggested needles, 5 and 7, or 5 to 7. Needles in here are 6s. Not a good gauge. There is no inconsistencies. Okay, first off, ball bands for boxes 1 and 2 do not have care instructions. There is no gauge on project 2 or 1. So far, the only one that has a gauge listed is literally the only project that does not require a gauge. A scarf. So that's super fun. But I've made only one. Pattern is super simple. I would not ever pair it in this yarn. Like, it is so soft. I would not pair it in this yarn because it's kind of awful to have to do increases and anything beyond stockinette in. Just because all those loops and everything, it's easy to catch it wrong. But also, this gate, I mean, I knit this exactly to pattern, and it also fits my boyfriend. Like, and it does not have good, like, there's no memory to it at all. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. You can, this has not been blocked, but I mean, you can kind of stretch it back into shape, but I mean, you can kind of see it's flaring here at the edges because it's not an appropriate yarn for the pattern. Now, maybe if these are just fashion, they must be just a fashion glove, because there's no way that these would do anything for you. I've been tempted to make the other one. You do get 2 balls with this, but I've made that full mitten and I haven't even gone through a whole ball yet. So I still have a second one, which is not super impressed with, because I don't actually want this leftover yarn. And I'm not entirely certain how they knit their gloves. There was one comment on the pattern on here that was concerning is not the right word, but made me pause. It says, turn gloves so knit stitches are right side out if they've end up flipped. I've been knitting a really long time, 16-ish years, and I've not had projects accidentally flip on themselves. I know it happens all the time. I know it's not impossible or anything like that, but that tends to be something that happens because the directions have gotten stuff flipped around, or because they're new to the knitting or project, whatever. And if that's the case, if those tend to be more common reasons for it to happen, are these patterns being tested? And if they aren't, I want to know why. I mean, I kind of sound like a pattern snob here, but that's not the case. Like, this is supposed to be an advanced box, and I have a glove that may or may not end up flipped inside out. If that's the advanced box, what are you sending to noobs? If this is the advanced box, how tested are the newbie patterns? Is it advanced because you've sent me more fiddly yarn? Like, I'm curious to know what the qualifiers for beginner, newbie, or I mean intermediate / advanced are. I am enjoying them. I know it sounds like I'm not. I actually really am. I need to finish these other 2 so that I can truly compare. But so far I would only really go for 2 of these yarns. Box 1 and 3, which is the Diana and tie-dye, and that's just, I think, probably because I enjoy the colors more than anything, not necessarily the content. So yeah, there is the review you did not know you wanted. I do have another finished project, though, that I want to show you, And I love this project. That's why I want to show you, because it's been sitting like off to the side of my couch. I started this over 2 years ago. I started this maybe 3 years ago, actually. My gray yarn is a yak silk blend. I don't remember the blue, but oh, I love this. If you are on my Instagram, you've already seen it. Isn't it fabulous? So this is all garter up here. This is just mosaic knitting, and that's obviously lace. This is the back side. So mosaic on the back is not as pronounced, but you can still see the design. I will link to this one because I love, 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 love this pattern so much so that I've recently bought a ton of mosaic patterns because it looks so much more difficult than it is, and it makes you feel fancy, and people think you're super fancy and super skilled. It ended up being quite large. Again, I don't wear scarves, but I couldn't help myself. I think it looks good. Oh yeah, look at that. I could totally wear this. I just feel like I have a short neck. I have a cousin who has this long, glorious giraffe-like neck, and I have one that makes me feel like the twits from that Roald Dahl book when they stand on their heads and end up like shrinking into themselves. That's what scarves and shawls make me feel like. Super warm. No idea what I'll do with it, but I don't care because it makes me happy. It was on pause for a really long time. The pattern itself is not difficult. I don't remember if the pattern itself does. I did slip my edge stitches so that it's nice and even. Gosh, I got dog hair all over it. Yeah, the pattern itself is not difficult. I would recommend it to a lot of people, but I kept screwing up in the lace section. You start with the garter and then you work your way to the lace. And for whatever reason, I just kept screwing it up. It got so bad that I ended up putting in stitch markers after every pattern repeat. And at the widest, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and a half little diamond repeats. So it was a lot of stitch markers. I hate stitch markers so bad, but I would finally just was like, I'm tired of seeing this roll around my bag. I want it done. I absolutely love this yarn. I love this pattern. Just finish it. And I think when I picked it back up, I only had maybe 10 rows left. Like, it's ridiculous, but it's finished. I love it. I do not love the smell of the yak silk blend. I got it off Etsy. It's just beautiful. I have more of it. I started another mosaic in it, but oh, it was so strong smelling. I don't know if it was just me or what, but I was not impressed with that part. Before I show you what's in my actual knitting bag, I want to show you the project bags I've recently made. I got a Cricut, and I'm pretty sure everything needs vinyl now. And so my first one I made, I got some holographic iron-on. So it's hard to, there we go. This is my ball sack. Because, I'm like 12, but it makes me so dang happy. I love the font, and it was super simple, super easy. My knitting group is finally meeting up again since, shutdowns and all of that. It was we had to pause meeting for quite some time. So now we're all meeting up again, and there's been a few people who their lives kind of fell apart over that break, and so I wanted to make them fancy things. There's one lady who crochets and knits, but she's primarily a crocheter, so I have the humor of a 12-year-old because that's the size matters. Which just cracks me up. So I need to bring them. I meant to bring them last week, but I forgot. And then another one, she has a very stressful government job. She works, her life is just insane. So I made her a project bag. Here's the back side. This is kind of like a velour almost, and it is actually a makeup bag from Dollar Tree. So the inside has that liner, and that's why I ended up getting it and figured it would be perfect for like notions or maybe small projects like socks, because your needles aren't as likely to poke through, which makes the statement on this one so hilarious. I got 3 of these, 3 or 4. Black, a purpley, and then like a pink. And this one says, feeling stabby. And because her life is super stressful, and one night she's like, I'm sorry, I'm such a Debbie Downer, and I feel like I just come to complain. And I was like, you need an outlet that's not just knitting. And so when I saw feeling stabby, I was like, that is so perfectly her. And then this one, this is actually the project bag that came in box number 1. So super basic, it's just drawstrings. I might change out the drawstring because I'm not a fan of how difficult it is, but it's not terrible. There is no end closure though, which seems like a bad idea for a bag that cinches shut. That's difficult. So this one is super simple, but I love it. Knit that shit. It's so ridiculous how happy these bags make me, how happy my stinking Cricut makes me. But I've shown everybody their bags. I've let them know to expect them. They're all super excited. They think they're hilarious, which is, you know, always a good thing. So now that I've prattled on about that, what else did it? Oh, I want to show you my project. So I mentioned that I just got a bunch of patterns. And when I say a bunch, I mean like 5 or 6. I will link to the ones that I got because they are beautiful, and I got as many as I did because it was like buy 5, get the cheapest one free or something like that. And in the end, I put in 6. Still got the sale, so it all worked out. So I get all of these, go to my yarn store. I've got the patterns pulled up. I sit in my car for probably 20-30 minutes trying to decide which one I want to get yarn for. Do I have yarn at home? Sure. Does that matter? No. But I really wanted new yarn. And so I'm like texting my sister and a friend. I'm like, help me pick the pattern to make. And they were of no help at all. And so I was like, well, crap. Let's see what else is in my queue. And I bought yarn for a free pattern. Sunday morning shawl, I do believe is what it's called. Super easy. I love it. It's sections of stockinette with a twisted rib, and then once I get closer down to the bottom, before the edge ribbing, there's a row of bobbles. And this yarn is gorgeous and impossible to show because of my lighting. It's Variations DK. It is superwash. Color is deepest malachite. Gosh, my dogs stepped in my knitting bag earlier, so there's like hair and get pets. They said it'll be fun. No, it's not. Okay, let me see. Anyways, the color is super gorgeous. It's very jewel tony. But let's see. Let me get perfect. Okay, so you can see how good that color is. Oh, freaking dog hair. Absolutely love it. I got the only 3 they had in stock. My yarn stores small. 225 yards per skein, and I think that is just barely enough for the pattern. Like, I did the math and went, oh good, they have at least 3, and that was the only one. Super simple pattern. I love it. It will be huge. By the time you get to the edge, you're over 400 stitches on a DK weight shawl on size 7 needles. So like, it's gonna be a blanket, but it's beautiful. Only downside is this color bleeds so bad. I don't know if it's the yarn itself. I've never had an issue with Superwash bleeding before. I don't know if I just got lucky or what, but the first time I noticed it, I was like, oh, my hand looks a little green. Can't tell though, because my nail polish that I had on at the time kind of had a green base, and so it was kind of one of those, okay, are my hands green or is it like a reflection off my nail polish? And then I took it to knitting one night, and that's all I worked on, and by the time I was done, like all down the side where it rubs against, all across my fingers where I tension, everything was noticeably green. Not a problem, because I can set it, but I've not had good luck setting yarn in the past couple of years. I don't know if I just really suck at it, if I've just gotten seriously unlucky or what, but the amount of green that comes off just in the knitting makes me seriously hesitate to block it, because oh, it's gonna bleed so bad. But it's a nice yarn to knit with, aside from that. And then last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm coming up on an hour of recording, so we'll see. I intended to tell you about the swatch and then show a clip, but maybe I'll just tell, maybe I'll just tell you about it and then include the clip on the next time. We'll see. I don't tend to edit these. Like, I know I could take out a lot of my that I do, but I don't know. I don't like to edit because I feel like everything I've said obviously had a point to being said, and I suck at getting it just right. So I don't want this to be too long of a post, because nobody wants to sit around for that long. Okay, I will show you this next post, because I do want to talk about it. It is an awesome swatch, just on decreases, but I want to give it the time it's due. So this, I guess I'll wrap up, because again, we're almost at an hour and I've done nothing but prattle. But I'm excited to be doing these again. I hope you come back. I hope you're not totally bored. I hope you don't sit here and go, oh my gosh, stop talking and go away. I'm not going to commit to any sort of posting time frame or anything like that, because that tends to be shooting myself in my foot there. Yeah, so that's that. Next one though, I will go over that swatch and give you my cool little tip that I found out. It's so freaking awesome. And then go over some yarns I bought recently, and I don't know, maybe show you my weaving. Like, here, let me just show you my weaving. Look at that! Oh, and my Roomba. Anyways, just, there you go. Got a little exercise moving across my living room with me. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope you come back. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, I don't know what a good outro is. I hate the word outro. How's that for one? Have a good day, guys.